Hello and welcome. My name is Richard Wide Art Shark, and I'm doing something that I haven't done for quite a while, and that's make a YouTube video. I was, what's the word? I want to say inspired, but maybe that's not the right word. Compelled to create this video off the back of some rather, how shall we say, interesting news from Unity recently, that they're changing their pricing model, and I know that a lot of people are particularly perturbed by the whole thing, and are looking at other options. Now, I, not because of this reason, but simply for other reasons, moved away from Unity about 8 months ago, and have been playing, fiddling, working on a game in Godot. It's a tower defense game. It's a tower defense roguelike crafting game, believe it or not. And I have been doing various bits and bobs, and I've learnt a lot. I'm certainly not an expert, but I have learnt a lot. And I thought, well, who better than somebody that's been using Unity in the past, using Godot now, that might be able to steer people that wanted to learn about how to use Godot, and give them some help, and then tell them maybe some of the differences and some of the experiences that I've had. Now, I would say that Godot is not Unity, obviously, but I mean that from it's not as mature as Unity. And that's apparent, but it's a fun engine, and its language is very, very strong. It can do a lot of stuff very quickly, particularly if you're in the 2D world. I'm actually going to be going 3D for the game that I'm making, but it's for 2D. It's fantastic, arguably as good, maybe even better than Unity. Certainly better than Unreal for 2D. Just by the nature of the way it works. Very easy to use, very easy indeed. But today what I'm going to show you, just to get you kind of whet your appetite if you like, is something with very little code, and that is a main menu system. Now here I've got, if I just click on back, actually that's not the main menu. I've seen quite a few tutorials on menu screens, but not really ones that give you the full give you the full information, detail on how to create things like changing the resolution, how to have drop downs for easy normal, how to use the escape key, just stuff like this, how to control sound. I can show you that. We'll come to that a bit later on, and even things like editing full screen. Now I'm going to click this and it's going to go black on OBS. There we go, and it comes in. It was instant for me, I assure you, but not so on OBS. I think OBS takes a second to work out what's going on. But yeah, so all these things I'm going to create for you and show you how to create. It won't look quite like this. We'll do something a little bit different, but we'll go through it slowly. I can talk about the front end, the user interface, and we can have a good time. If you enjoy this video, please subscribe, please like, please comment. I'm very aware that there are probably better ways that I could do this, and there's definitely some things that I think I'm going to do that you'll instantly say, whoa, why are you doing it like that? And I'll try and talk you through that, and you can maybe disagree with me or whatever. Right, so let's begin. Let's initially, in order to get this started, what I'll actually do as well is I'll actually hide my face. You don't see that all the time, do you? Let's get rid of me there. If I just click on here, just under project, quit to project list. And what we'll do is we'll create a brand new project. Let me get rid of the itch.io page there, and we'll create a new project. As you see, this is about my third attempt now. I like to try and have some sort of information on what I'm going to do before I do it. This is behind me, by the way. It's just a shameless plug to my. Hang on, let's get rid of that. Plug to my game right now that I'm playing. How do I get rid of that? There, get rid of that as well. There you go. The type that I'm doing, I'm using Magica Voxel for the assets, but we'll talk about that later on. Okay, so we're going to create a main menu. How do you do that? Well, if you've never seen this screen before, then you're brand new to Godot. Welcome. This is where your project window is, and you can create new projects by clicking the plus button. Okay, and we're going to create a new one. We're going to call this UI tutorial. For now, want of a better name, and I'm going to put in here document/Godot, and it's going to complain that there's no such folder, but here's a good start. We're going to click on create folder, and there we go, it's created it. Now this is a good example of where I'm not quite sure where to pitch this, whether to go forward plus is the all singing all dancing renderer, mobile, which is obviously for mobile, and compatibility, which is great for things like web design. Now I think Godot's in a bit of a place at the moment where it's not mature enough to support things like compatibility on WebGL and stuff like that. So it's in a bit of a place. So you can change these later on. And for now, I think we're perfectly fine to go with compatibility. So that means you'll be able to upload this stuff onto a web page like itch.io, for instance, and make it playable on the web there. Could be good for game jams and stuff like that. Possibly compatibility is the way to go. One thing I noticed on 3D in compatibility, shadows don't work. So not the greatest for 3D, but it's okay. I wouldn't stress about the version control. If you would like me to do a demo on that, I'm a huge fan of using Git. So if you would like to see how that all works, we might as well just keep it as Git. It doesn't do any harm. It just creates a couple of files that you don't need to worry about. And then we'll, provided we're happy, we'll click create and edit. Wait a few seconds. I haven't covered the download. I hope you're very capable of going to the Godot website and clicking on download. The good thing about Godot as a download, one second. Here we are. It's the actual what you call it, the executable. It's pretty small. It's actually got quite a lot bigger since 4 in the more recent versions of 4. But it's still 116 meg, and it runs with no installation. Okay, the Win64 console runs the console behind it, so you can see some of the debugging and logging and stuff. I just tend to run this one, to be honest with you. But if you were to want to see some of the debugs and logs that Godot produces, then that's the way to go. Okay, on that. Here is the front end. Now, for Unity users, the first thing that you might be thinking is how do I undock these windows? Well, you can't. You can use a separate editor, Visual Studio, for instance, if you wish. But if you want, this does come with the editor built in. But all of the windows here are you can move them around and things. You can move their positions. So I can move the inspector over here, but I can't pull the inspector out and stuff like that. But it's so it's annoying if you've got multiple screens. That's a bad starter. But yeah, something that you might have to think about going forward is the fact that it's not there. But that's how I've not had an issue with that, to be honest with you. I do have a second monitor, but it's not a problem. I tend to stick, if I'm doing concept art and stuff, I tend to put that on there. I'm British, so I have to keep drinking tea. What we're going to do is we're going to create a main menu. This is the 3D scene, by the way, and you can move around it with the a middle mouse button like that. You can what do you call that one? Look around with the right mouse. If you hold right mouse and do WAS and D, you can move around. I think E and Q moves up and down, stuff like this. I'm not going to go into huge detail, like I say. I think you can probably work all this stuff out just by starting it. There's a whole bunch of options up here. You should have a little play around with those, and we'll go through this stuff as we go along. So don't stress it too much. But we're going to create, oddly enough, another node called a control node. Now, a control node will tell you. This is the other thing, by the way. I should probably raise this now. Godot's very node heavy, lots and lots of different nodes, which is you could call it a game object. I'm not going to say it's a game object, but it's like a game object. And the nodes are the subclasses of nodes do a variety of things, from character controllers to collisions to front end GUI nodes, all this sort of stuff. But the good thing is you can search up here, and it actually give you a nice description. Look, base class for all GUI controls. Perfect. Right, this is what we're after right now. We are looking at creating a GUI kind of container, and that's a control. So if we click on create, and this is what we're presented with. Now, this is a 2D scene now, unsurprisingly, and you'll notice maybe I hope this blue bar around, and the reason that blue bar exists is because that's the current default resolution for this project. And we can go into project settings, and if we go into it's worth clicking advanced, just so you get I keep it advanced because I'm determined to learn all this stuff here. Somewhere in here I will find it. Is it window? Here we go. We've got the viewport width and height, and it's a rather odd one. I'm sure that must be. This is the default because it's changed it back. I don't know where that one comes from. 648p. I'm going to go for 1280 by 720. But as you know, later on we'll be able to change that and do what and adjust resolutions 1080p, 4K perhaps, and we'll click on close there, and you might see it's kept the same. I think it's kept the same resolution there. But if we sometimes this is my first notice. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to save this as main menu. Right. What I'll do again, naming conventions. I'm gonna keep it space free. Okay, I think that's going to be useful if I have to search for things later on. Putting spaces means I have to put quotes into the code, so we don't want to do that. And I'm going to save it. If I press Control S, it does something. You'll notice what it does here straight away is it's put main underscore menu in lowercase. So that's quite good for us, isn't it? It's worked that bit out. I'm going to create a folder under the root here, and let's just call this folder menus. Okay. I think Godot, well, I would say Unity as well, but Godot particularly benefits from a decent structure here. It can get very busy very quickly. So it's worth considering that. So we'll put this main menu in the main menu scene. Right? And what I might just then do, now I've saved it, is I'm just going to do a scene reload saved scene, and it might be that changes in size. It did not. Sometimes you have to reload the scene for this stuff to be realised, so to speak. I've noticed this a couple of times. Bug, maybe, I don't know. Feature, probably. And this is our control here. This is our control right here, and it's a small box that is anchored to the top left-hand side. So you'll probably recognise the anchoring there. Very similar system here. It gets bigger and smaller, and depending on when you run it, that will stay in the top left right now. What I want this to do is take up the entire screen and be anchored on all four corners, so it adjusts accordingly. So what we can do is, if we make sure that the main menu is selected there, and we're going to click on here, and it's this bottom right one, full rect. If I click on that, there we go. So now that's going to take up the entire. So any of its children now are going to be looking to take up the entire space. That's good news, I believe. I believe that's good news. And if we resize the window and what have you, it will move all of the components accordingly, right? You can try some of these other ones as well. It's a bit of a dark art, like a lot of these things. Getting this right, but I tend to find, if you're not sure, fully anchor it, right? But there's nothing in here at all. What we'd like to do is add some buttons. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add some buttons right now. I'm going to do this a slightly wonky way, just to get you in the place for what's going on. So if we type button, we've got all these different button options. We don't want anything like texture button. We just literally want button. Okay. We'll click on create, and there she is, somewhere hidden in the bottom left there, and we can see that there's nothing in it. If we go up over here, and let's call the first button play. Okay, we don't like that font at all, but we've got play, right? And I think what I'll do, just because I like to name everything, we'll call that play button, and we'll have a couple more buttons as well. Let's just do now, interestingly, you'll see they've all gone into the same place. This is the first one we've got, but let's just start renaming these. We'll call that options button. We'll call the next one, let's call that continue button. Let's call that continue button, and the next one I could have just moved them around. Options button, and quit button. Quit. Quit button, have I spelled that right? Yeah. And then we'll go through each one over here and change that to continue, and then the next one to options, and the final one to quit. And we can see what's happening. It's got very messy very early. And what we could, I suppose, do is just say, well, okay, let's get the play button. Let's move that over here somewhere. That's the quit button. You see, we've got problems already. We've got this one here, over there, that one there, and so on and so on. Right, that's a bit messy. What we'd like to really do is have these in its own container that's behaving itself a little bit more and kind of keeping everything in line for us. So let's do that. There is a box. It's called a VBox, and we'll add a child node, and we'll search for a VBox container. There she is. There's an HBox container as well if you want to go horizontal, but we want a vertical set of buttons. VBox container. All right, that's there. Now what I might, and then we'll move that to the top, like so. You need to be a little bit careful. I don't know if you spot it when I drag that around. You just got a little bit careful. Make sure you don't parent it or child it into one of the other buttons. Now, what I hope I've never done that before where I've done it in this order. So what I'm hoping is if I select all of those and drag them into the VBox. Yeah, we've got a slight issue, haven't we? So we're going to have to go through these and have a look at the transforms. Yes, I think we have. No, we haven't. I think they have actually moved. They have actually moved. Lovely. So we've got the VBox container here, and you can see some things here. It's got the buttons. They're a little bit small. So let's just click on the VBox container here. And there's a few things we can do. We're gonna definitely improve on this as we go. So some of this stuff we're going to literally throw out. If we just have a look at it's layout is the one, and I'm looking for the transform. No, I'm trying to find the one that lets you. Here we go. Constants. Here we go. So different nodes have different settings over here. In fact, you can kind of see this is the, if you like, this is the hierarchy. So nodes at the bottom, and node has a canvas item, then a control, then a box container. You see, so it's kind of working its way up. So this is the fields for the box container. This is the fields for the control. So VBox is a type of control, and then a canvas item is a type of node. Right? Does that make sense? It's hard. It's object oriented, right? So you got that there. So one of the things you can do, which I've now lost under theme overrides here, is you can click on separation, and let's make it 16. That's too much. It is too much right now. Let's make it 8. Okay, that's fine. And the other thing I wanted to do was just have a minimum size for it. So let's make that 300. No, that's not bad. That's not bad. It looks pretty ugly right now, but we're going to make this thing look. We're going to make this thing shine, all right? And also, I don't really want it in the top left. For the sake of my game, I would like it to be bang in the middle, and that's nice and easy to do. If we just click here, because remember we've got this thing taking up the whole screen, we can click on here and click on the anchor and pop it in the middle like that. I hope work. This is something I've noticed. I'll click it again and it works. Now, I definitely clicked it the first time. I don't know quite what happened there. Now, just for fun, I'm going to disable the options button. So that it's got an option here. If you click on the options button, you'll see base button here. Disabled, turns it on. I hate that as well. I think I've got these buttons around the wrong way. Can I do that? No, I don't want to parent it. I want to do that. There we go, lovely. Play, options, continue, quit. Right, so let's have a look at it, shall we? The way to do that is let's just press Control S to save, although it does save it, I think, whenever you click play. You can press F5 to run the project, or click on the play button here. Press F5. It's the first time you do it, it's going to say, well, hang on a minute, what am I running here? Well, we are in this scene here called main menu. Let's use the current scene. Select current. And here's our menu, and we can see that if we hover over, things happen. Obviously nothing's happening right now when we're clicking anything. Options is disabled, continue. Okay, all of this stuff is looking good so far. And in fact, if we just resize the window, that's also playing nice. It's staying in the middle, whatever we do. Lovely, right? So anchors are important. If you wanted to anchor something to the left, that means whenever you resize it, it will it'll hold to that left-hand side. But right now, it's anchored bang in the middle. Sip of tea. Right, I'm not happy with a few things. Number one, the font's rubbish. So let's change the font. And the way I do this, actually, rather than use a theme for this bit here, and we will come on to themes, is we can click on... I thought you could do it in main menu. I thought there was a theme overrides. I've lost it. 1 second. My apologies. I know what I need to do. We're going to create a theme now. By the way, I feel like I'm getting graphics card shamed here. GTX 1660 used to be a pretty good card, but now I think we're up to like 4,000, and no doubt NVIDIA will bring out the 5,000 series next year. Fantastic. We're going to create a theme. Now, a theme, as its name suggests, allow you to basically ensure that all those objects that are using that theme remain consistent. This is what you want to do, right? This is what you want to do. It does mean that we're going to be getting a little bit complicated a little bit early, but I think it's worth doing this. The theme system is not too bad. It's not great. Like a lot of things, it takes getting used to, but it's not too bad. So I'm going to click on here, I'm going to click empty, and then I'm going to click new theme. That's going to pop out, and you think, oh, well, that's great. Well, nothing's happened. Well, this is the first thing, well, not one of the first things, but definitely something in Godot that's a bit different. In order to sort of make the space that it needs, quite often you'll see these boxes like containers, and if you click on it, it will pull up some additional information. If you click it again, it will drop down. All right, so you can see there's some stuff going on here. Now, as I did that, let's just drag up here. You can see it's actually showing me all of the different UI elements and how they look right now. And what we can do now is we can go around and we can change how these look. But there is also an option here called default font. So rather than having to change each font in the buttons, you can actually do it here. So what I like to do is grab a font that I've used before. Now the one I used for the Rogue Tower Defense was the kind of an arcadey font. So I'm going to use that one. So let me just pull that one up 1 second. Right, I found it. To you, that was no time at all. To me, that was about 5 minutes. Right, here's our font. It's called our 8-bit arcade, and you're welcome to use any true type font you'd like, obviously. All I need to do is extract it and make sure that it's the TTF and not the zip file, and then I'll pull that into the menus folder. And if I bring that in here now, you can see that it's created, and I hope this one looks okay. So I'll put it in the menus folder, and then under the theme here, I can just drag it into the default font. I think that's the one. And then we'll just click on default size. Let's make that 24, shall we? Something like 24. I don't love it. There is another one that I can try. 1 second. There was one more. 1 second. Okay, here it is. It's 8-bit arcade out.ttf. Let's pop that in to the menus folder. And then again drag that over to the fonts, default font here. No, it's not those. I know actually what's happening here as well, by the way. So we're gonna go back to the other one. So 8-bit arcade in. Just click on that and change that there. You'll notice it's slightly blurry. This is a well, this is one of the things that it takes a while to know where this stuff is. But if you go down to this is where I'm going to take a while to find it myself. I don't know if I need to do the full advanced actually. So I click here and then textures. Here we go. We're going to go for nearest, and you'll notice that kind of cleans this up a little bit. I thought this font was better. I will be honest with you, but we're going to go with it. You're welcome to use other fonts. Other fonts that look better. I may change this at a later stage, but you'll see. That's fine. Let's make it a bit bigger anyway. Let's make it 32. There we go. Now we've made it a bit bigger. It seems to be able to cope with that, doesn't it? So it looks like maybe a minimum size of 32. So we've got ourselves a font now. Right? In fact, let's just go 48, shall we? Oh, 480, 48. There we go. Right, and again we can click on here, click on play, and now we've got ourselves this font here. And I have here we go. Here's a question for the Godot community. How do I center this a little bit better? I've noticed that sometimes it's at the top actually. This time it's at the bottom. But another thing we don't particularly like here is the color of this. It looks pretty crap, doesn't it? And this is where we can use a theme to make these look better. Okay, much better. You'll notice now the theme's disappeared. If you're actually here, click on main menu. It does have, because we've got the theme set up here, we can click on theme here. One thing I would like to do is just click on this down arrow next to the theme and say save, and we'll call it UI.theme. If you're not careful, it'll save it as a scene, which I think that's what TRES is meant to represent. So there's a theme option here. So just say UI.theme. Click on that. That means we can reuse it. I was very much expecting that to be there. Where is that? Why is that not over on the left here? I don't know. Sorry, it needs to be opened. These guys need to be inside the menu folder. I thought that's where they were. Pop them in there. Shouldn't change anything. There we go. It's all good. Right. We're good in that regard. So if we go back to the click on here, you can see that the theme is still there. Right. If you're getting trouble, just click on it. Just double click on the theme itself, and that'll bring it up as well. You can see what's going on. Now we've got ourselves this sort of rather boring looking black grey button here. So we're going to take a little bit of a step here, and we're going to say, right, well, let's change the button. And what I've done is I've actually gone to itch.io. 1 second, let me bring that up. Okay, we're going to give these ones a go. I haven't tried these ones yet, so we may have some fun. Let's give these ones here a go. This is name your own price. I'll put a link into this guy's itch.io page at the bottom. So we click on download now. I'm just going to say 0 for now. I may well, if these turn out to be okay. Is that what you do? No thanks, just take me to downloads. There we go. Okay. And then if you don't use itch.io, by the way, you should do. All right, you absolutely should. And we'll click on button.zip. There we go. One more time, and we'll open that up. Button. How's he done it? He's got different ones here: box, oval, polygon. So let me grab that. This is one slightly. It's not really Godot's fault. It's more the file system's fault. What I'll do is I'll actually go directly into it. So if I go to, actually I'll pause it while I do it. 1 second. Okay, so I'm in Documents, Godot, and then what was it we called this? UI tutorial. Weird order. UI tutorial, and then I'll just paste it in there. All right. Actually, I'll do better than that. I'll put it into the menus option, and then we'll go into here, and I think I'll just call that buttons. All right. Worrying times. If we go back into here, that'll import all of the buttons. Okay, so we're going a little bit blind here. I hope this goes okay. This will test my skills. We're going to override how these buttons look, and the way to do that beautifully, we don't have to touch the font now, but we do want to make these buttons look better. So what we're going to do is we're going to click over on the type here. This is something that, for instance, might throw you. You don't realise that. Maybe you think you go in here and start editing them, but this is just how they look. Right, there's a little option here that's a little plus, and it says, right, what button or what UI component do you want to create a theme for? And we want button, and by doing that, any subclass, subnode, whatever you want to call it, a button will also be affected. So it's the top of the tree, so to speak, the parent. So we'll click on add type there. And then we're presented with all these different options. You can see that we've got the different font colors, which is great. I think I can just quickly show you that now. If I just change that, if I change it, you see we've got different colors. Simple stuff there. That's literally just a swatch that lets you do that. I'm just going to delete that. We're going to keep them all white for now. I will change those shortly, so when you hover over and stuff, it looks different. We've got things like horizontal separation, the width, the outline size of the button itself, the font, which we're not touching. The font size, which we're not going to touch. We may want to touch that. See, we've got this default here, so we could say actually, yeah, I don't want it to be. I want it to be 32, right, or 38 maybe. Right, so we can override this stuff. You can see, so anything you got here can be overridden inside there here. But for now, let's just keep it as the default. That's actually part of the main theme. What was I going to do next? I was going to go to the next one along. I don't know what that's for. Maybe that's for texture buttons. This is the one. This is the one we care about. All right, and this is where things are going to get interesting. We're going to start with a normal button, and we're going to click on here. Okay, and then this creates one of these little drop downs, and it gives some options. And because our button is a texture, we're going to click on New Style Box Texture. Click on that there. Doing that didn't do much, apart from made everything disappear. So what we're going to do is going to click over here. And now we've got this box here where we can do stuff, and you'll notice there's an empty texture there. So if we go over to buttons, let's try box. So the good news is it's actually showing what the box looks like, and I rather like that green one. So we just drag the green one into the here. Boom, it's worked for us. Now, frustratingly, I'll be interested to know how we can sort out the fact that that's panning at the bottom. I'm going to have a little play with that in a minute, see if I can do it before the end of the video. But the other thing that's a bit weird is it's stretched stuff. You can see here it's absolutely fine. And what we can do is we can change the texture margins. Now this is going to be a little bit tricky because I don't know how big these guys are. Can I do anything like? Normally this is pixel art, you see, so you would just grab a few pixels, but we need to what's called we need to corner off this lot. It'd be nice if you could do that there as well, wouldn't it? And you can't do it. You can specify the margins here, but you can't kind of select. There's a thing called a 9-patch rec that will do this for you, but you can't use it for buttons. At least I can't. I haven't worked it out yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a punt. Let's just try something like 24. 24 by 24 by 24 by 24. And that looks absolutely awful. So let me play around with the settings and I'll explain what I'm doing. That doesn't look too bad there though, does it? That doesn't look too bad. I think maybe let's just try 32. That's looking a lot better. That's looking a lot better. I'm not loving this. I think somehow I've got that wrong, even though that looks okay there. I'm not sure why that's blurry there, look. I think this needs to come up here. The bottom one needs to come right up to something. Let's try 64. That could work. That could work. In fact, that's done a couple of things for me, hasn't it? That's also moved the play button up. Was not expecting that. Okay, so we so let's make that 48 then. Okay, well I have inadvertently managed to move the play button up, and this is not right on the right. Look, nowhere near. So let's change these to 48 on the right and left. Better. 48 here. Much better. Yeah, so it's just this loop here. Now, I think, to be fair, I've not picked the greatest of buttons here. Usually, you want a clean inside button. These buttons have got very, very large as well now, and I think that is a problem. I do still want to change the main menu and change that up a level now to maybe 64. This is making the buttons very, very big indeed. I hadn't intended them to be anywhere near that big. I will play around and see if I can get some better buttons. I wonder what these oval ones are like. It's about the same gig, isn't it? So yeah, so I may change that, but I hope that you got the rough idea there of what I was doing with this Starbox texture here. I was actually I'm changing these angles here so that these corners here don't get stretched. All right, they don't get stretched, but by doing so, I've had to come out quite a way. How big is it? 516 by 229, and that's resulted in quite a lot of gap here. That's okay. We'll try a different one shortly, but you notice the options button is still a bit crappy. We'll come to that in a minute. Now that that's looking okay, sorry, I forgot to stop the previous one, by the way. So you can click here, stop. You can press F8 on the while you're running it. All those things will work, and you can see now that, well, actually, you know, it's not really. it's okay for the normal, but it's not for the other ones. So let's quickly make the quit button work and introduce ourselves to some code. All right, and then we'll go through and finish off the other buttons. Now, the way I do this, when you have a button or there's any number of node types, they have what are called signals. And you can click over. If you click on here, look, it can show you the signals that this thing can fire. Now, events are the similar thing that you get in Unity. You can write events that take place, and then the code inside the buttons will do all these different things. So you can see there's a pressed button here, all right? So that when it's pressed, you can attach functions to it so that it'll handle when that's done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create this one here, and I'm going to actually rename this here, and I'm going to call this main menu. Let's call this top VBox container, okay? Because this is we're going to keep all of our windows in here. The options menu, the quick confirm. We're going to keep all of that in here. So I'm going to create a script. Top VBox container. I'm going to click on the little button here, attach a new script, and we'll call this. I'm going to call it top VBox container. I'm not too concerned about that. .gd means it's a Godot script, right? A GD script. You can call this other stuff if you want to. For now, it's in the menus folder. That's absolutely fine. Okay. You'll notice a couple of functions that get called for you straight away. This one is similar to the update method, and this is similar to the start init method. Oh my goodness, I've forgotten. The one that gets called when it's initially ready. You notice they've got underscores in front of them. This is to indicate that they're meant to be private. As far as I'm aware, Python and GDScript. GDScript for me is a form of Python. Apparently, it's completely separate, but it feels like a fork of Python, but maybe I'm wrong. Preceding anything with an underscore suggests that it's meant to be a private, right? But it doesn't enforce it. Right? There are some clever little tricks where it hides it, but it doesn't stop you calling it. But we don't care about these for this. We're just what the VBox is going to do is it's going to handle the quit button. So now if we click on quit button again, and then go back to pressed, and then click connect. Okay, we can do that. We could do that in code as well, but we can do it right here. And it's saying, well, what script do you want to use? Well, the top VBox container. That's what we want, and it tells us what method it's going to get called, and we click on that, and sure enough it creates a function for us called on quit button pressed. Again, you'll notice it's got that underscore. If you don't want anything in there, then you put pass. Right? Again, I think the Python stroke GD script requires you to have something. You can't just do that. Right? There's no curly braces, by the way. You're out of curly brace. Again, these languages, GD script, Python, they are indent specific. So indents are very important. You can't just go and create code it any which way you like, putting spaces and semicolons. No. Very, very indent specific. Tea time. That's getting cold. Right. And I will tell you how to quit. Get tree. Gets the root node, okay, and then you can say quit. Lovely times, and that's all you need for this. That's all we need to do. That's going to quit. We will put an are you sure option in there later. Just press Control S. I'll click on here. I should get the hang of pressing F5. And now, if I press this button here, it stops. Magic. But it looks rubbish. So we're just going to quickly finish off the themes here. I'm just going to click on here. So we want the hover. What we can do, by the way, this is a bit of a quicker way to do it. If we click on save, so you can save all sorts of stuff here. We can save this style. We can save this style here. We can save that, and it comes up with that stupid message because you've got to make it unique. So let's do that. I don't understand why you have to make it unique now. I'll explain in a minute how you could do that. So we click on save. It's in the menus folder, and again we want to make sure it's .stylebox. So we'll call this normal button .stylebox. Give it the right extension. Normal button .stylebox. There we go. Right. Okay. And now, if we go to, let's say, hover, click on plus, and then quick load. There it is. Normal button .stylebox. But we don't want it to be like that. We can just click OK. Right, and that will copy all of the settings. Good news. And actually, is that hover we've just done there? Yeah. So now if I click play, you can see that it's done something a bit different. You notice I guess that's the reason it's come on theme. Where are you? There you are. The reason that is slightly different color is because here, I'm guessing the font hover is slightly. This font color maybe is slightly less has slightly less alpha than the font hover. That one there. Yeah, you can just see. Look, can you see? I can see. Font hover color is slightly brighter than font color. Gosh, but what will they do? Let's do this. Let's make font hover color. Let's make that a. What do you think? Or whatever. I don't mind. I'll let you decide here. We'll make that a bright bluishy. Like that. That's quite nice. There we go. And now if we press play, when we hover, it goes blue. That's terrible. You can't see it, can you? So let's quickly change that because I can't bear things to be. Actually, if we, you can do it here. Here we go. You don't need to mess around with pressing play. We'll just lighten it up a bit. No, that's better. That'll do. That'll do. When you hover, it goes like that, right? So what we've got back here. Is the hover is exactly the same as the normal button. We don't. We do want that because the only difference is that it's got this light blue thing on it. So that's fine. And the pressed button, we may as well do something along the lines of quick load. I should have just used buttons, shouldn't I? And for that, we'll use a different colour again. So we'll just make that red or something like that. So we go over here. Font pressed color, click on plus to change it, click on here, and let's make it red. Oh, nice light purple. It's quite good. The toggle button shows like it's Let's do that, right? And now we've got all those different options there. And if we click on play, hovering does that, pressing it does that. Now, one thing you'll notice is that box comes around here. I don't think anybody wants that. So the way to change that is you'll have, if you go to, this took me a little bit of time to work out, it's the focus option, right? So we can click on plus here, and we want a style box empty. So style box empty is another way of saying absolutely nothing. Oh, tell me I'm recording. Thank goodness. For a horrible second I thought I wasn't recording there. Disabled, we could do something. We could click on this, do quick load, normal button, and now we'll make it unique, right? Because we don't want this to look the same. Right, we'll make it unique, and then if we click on it, wasn't expecting it to do that. What have I just done? Click on main menu. Why is it doing that? That is bizarre to me. 2D. Main menu. Go to inspector. Click on that. There we go. We're on disabled, are we? I want to make absolutely sure now. If you click on back here, by the way, it takes you back here. I'm definitely on the disabled one. Good. I think if we go to modulate here, what we can do is we can make this much darker. There, like that. Perfect. Perfect. And now that's completely, how dark can we make it? We want a little bit of green, don't we? And then we go, and then we'll click on here. Can't press it. We can press these. Lovely. Beautiful. Okay, we are making really good progress. I don't love the size of these, and what I'll probably do in part 2, if you are interested, please be sure to put a comment in, and I will continue as fast a pace as I can, because I know everybody wants to get on board with this. I will change these buttons, and I will show you how to do that, so we've got something better. I don't know what I was thinking going with this live. Craziness. Right, I want to add a background. Okay, so I'm going to go and find a background somewhere and use something. So bear with me, I'll just go a quick peek on the web and I'll find something interesting. Okay, I found this. I really like it. It's possibly going to be a little bit harsh on the eyes with those green buttons, but we'll see. This is a 2560 by 1440 image, so we'll put this as the background. I might have a little play and see if I can maybe reduce the transparency a little bit, but let's go with this one. So if I bring up my downloads folder, I think that's where it was. Wallpaper, here we go, and we'll just get rid of the buttons. Under the menus, I'll just drag it into there. Pop, and it's going to bring it in. And we need to add it, unsurprisingly. So what we'll do is we'll click under main menu, and we're going to add a child node called texture rectangle. There it is, texture rect, nothing special. Click on create. It's small. We want to make sure the anchor so that it does full rect. Let's press it. I press it, nothing happens. I press it again and it works. Maybe it's double click. I don't know. No, I'll do that. You press it once, it does. I don't understand. I'm not sure if I'm doing it right or wrong or what, but I don't know. It just doesn't immediately work. There's nothing in it. All right, there's no texture there. It's just kind of done. It said, "Oh, okay, I'll expand like my parent." That's fine. All we need to do is just grab the wallpaper. Here we go, wallpaper flare. You can, like I say, you by all means just pick your favourite if you're watching along. And there, it's done it. But it's stuck in front of everything. Well, it's top down. So everything from the top and then everything below it kind of overlaps it, right? So we'll just drag that up, making sure you don't drop it into the text box. You just got to make sure it's a single line. Click on there, and boom. And that doesn't look too shabby. Not too shabby at all. We might need to do one thing, which is click here under expand modes. We're just going to say ignore size, and stretch mode. I think it's keep aspect covered that I like. And now if I click on play, okay, we've got ourselves the menus. Now, something's gone a little wrong, hasn't it? I think what's happened is this image has expanded. You can see it has. It's done something weird. I need to make sure that's okay, which it is. This one here, then, I need to say, let me try it. Where's the ignore size? Scale, no. Keep size, no. Fit width. Come on, one of you guys is going to work for me. Now, I don't know if I'm doing something wrong here. I'm just going to reload the scene. So I'm just going to say Control S. Right, let's just go with what I know. I normally do ignore size and scale. Right, and then let's just save it and just do a reload of the scene. Reload scene. To me, this is odd. I know what it's bigger than the thing. Well, I can make that bigger, but let me just try removing that size there. And now, let me try scaling it now. Ignore size, keep size. No, so now I do ignore size, right, and then do keep aspect, scale. It's being a right old monkey. But what I'll do is I'll just drag those up just past the line there. Okay, and I think that might be the problem. I thought there was a way to make this fit onto the canvas size, but if I do that now and click on play, there we go. That's better. And if I make this bigger and stuff, it does kind of stretch, and there's things you can do about that. I'll show you in a second. Play around with the options. But if I click on here, I think it's if I do scale, keep aspect centered. And now click on play. I think that then makes sure that the size stays the same. Yeah, you may lose the image, but the size stays the same. Play around with these. See which one you like. Keep aspect covered, I think, is another good one. And I think that stops it from ever disappearing. You can see that if it gets too small, it actually. This is probably my favourite. I think. Keep aspect covered. Look, it's always there. It never loses its shape, and it looks super cool now. Looks super cool. The only thing I'm thinking now is I probably need to move these towards the bottom. Why don't we just do that before we close out? So what we'll do is we'll get this top VBox container and we'll just anchor that to the bottom now. Right there. And then what we can now do, now if I click on play now, you'll see, unsurprisingly, although I might move it up a touch, is that it will stay at the bottom. Okay, that's good. I might just grab that VBox container. It looks okay. Oh no, it doesn't. You can't see the blue line anymore. I'm just going to start moving that up a few pixels. Let me just check on the transform here, and just on the right hand side, just keep your eye on the Y value, the position Y value. There you go. Let's move that to 188 or something like that. Let's quickly press play and see how that looks. That's fine, right? I mean, this is a small resolution. This is about 720p, so about as small as you're going to get. I can't stop. I want to do one more thing. I'm going to add a label. Let's do that. Add child node. A label. This is going to be the name of our game. Our amazing 80s retro game. And this, what should we make the game? We'll call it Retro Beast. Retro Beast. Yeah. Okay. Because you know that's important. And then we'll just name that title. And just for consistency, I'll put that up there. And why don't I make that background as well, just so we know what's what. We don't want that there. We want this expanding across the whole top here like that. And I think again pressing it. All right, and I thought that was going to center it. It's that one then. I thought that was going to center the text. I suspect I can do that down here. I'm sure I can. I'm not There's a couple of ways of doing this, isn't there? Let me quickly see if I can see it. Horizontal alignment. There it is. Center. Boom. Right. And we'll just again click on it and just press the down arrow. Press the down arrow. There we go. Move it down a few. And I definitely want to make that bigger. So I want to make the theme override. Separation's good. I thought there was a font size. I thought there'd be a font size for it. It's not there. 1 second. I apologise. I was actually on the wrong. I was on the wrong container, wrong selection. I needed this one. I realised I didn't have it selected. So sorry for those that were spotting that and not and screaming at the screens. So it's theme overrides, and there we go. Theme overrides is there now, and font sizes. We want to change that to that, and then we'll make this nice and big. 64. No, 64 is what it is already. 128. Much better. Retro beast, and we can do some stuff as well. We can actually add some colors. So we'll have font shadow color is black. We don't for now. I'm not going to have an outline, but let's just add the X and Y here, and just if I zoom in, we're going to need to make that maybe 6. There you go. You can see it. Maybe make that 8 and 8. Okay, so we're just doing that, and also, of course, the font shadow needs to have a little bit of alpha on it. So we'll just drag that down until it kind of makes sense. There, our game, Retro Beast. The main menu is looking tasty. Who wouldn't want to play this game looking at this right now? For now, am I recording? Yes, I am. Oh, I get nervous I'm not recording. I really need to keep an eye on that. For now, that's what we're going to call it. Thank you very much for watching part 1. I hope that made sense. I hope that was useful. We're going to take it to the next level in the next tutorial. We're going to actually start making the options menu work. We're going to make the play button actually load a scene for us. We're going to do some stuff that's going to really make this thing a lot more powerful. And then we will move on maybe to even to some GD script in the tutorial after that. So I hope you're enjoying. Welcome if you are from the Unity world, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Cheers now. Thank you. Bye bye.